favorite things about you is you always wear the coolest stuff that just like reflects who you are. You have like your trout belt, you have your fly tats. But what's up with this chicken sweatshirt?
Okay, so this isn't a chicken. This is a great blue heron. So I actually got this shirt from a guy who lives in Boulder. He does like a bunch of like print stuff, and he actually will make wildlife photos and like wildlife print on shirts and then sell them, and part of that money goes to conservation. And one of the coolest things he does is he actually like will put down a canvas in nature and have like an animal walk across it, and then he takes that and then puts it on clothing and then sells it and then donates that money to wildlife groups. So I'm like, how cool is that? I get to like rep some nature stuff and also get to donate to conservation, and a bird walked on this. Like how, I mean, and not to say, I mean, you have a nice shirt too. Where'd you get your shirt from?
Costco?
Welcome to the Outside Show. I'm your host, Eeland Stribling.
I'm your other host, Mo Beck.
And I'm Fred Jaya here with the news.
Hey, Fred.
Crew, I have bad news for you all.
Aw.
The annual naked bike ride up in Portland, Oregon has been canceled this year.
Man, Eeland, I hope you can get your deposit back on that full body wax you had scheduled.
So this thing has been going on for 20 years. Apparently organizers said they needed some help with the organization of the event because it's gotten so big that you need like a whole team of people to organize and corral all the naked cyclists up there. This thing started in 2004, and I actually remember this. This was back in the day, like critical mass, when mass bike rides were being used as protests, and this was like it was a big oil protest. But everyone would get together and just ride their bikes naked. Question for you all though. Have you ever participated in like some sort of like nude mass participant event?
You know, my college had one, not for any cause or protest, just because I never quite made it out the door. I was always really paranoid that someone would steal my pile of clothes before I got back to it. That I would just be like stuck naked.
I had something in college, it was called the Undie Run. You would bring cans to donate, food to donate, and then everyone would strip down. We weren't naked, we were all in our underwear, and then we would run around campus.
So donate some cans to show off your cans.
That's how it was.
Yeah, UC Santa Cruz, the first rain of the year, everyone would get naked and run around. But we never rode bikes, and I just wonder, like, what does that do to your bike seat?
I also wonder what came first. Was this really just an idea to bike naked and decided to associate with the cause?
I know.
Or was the cause first and they're like, oh, we can do this better.
Let's go ride bikes naked. Anyway, hopefully it comes back for 2025. We will keep an eye on the old Portland naked bike ride. Some big breaking news, well, not breaking, but big news in the world of search and rescue. Apple recently announced that the new iPhones are going to have functionality on it, not dissimilar from like what you might find with a Garmin InReach, where you will be able to text via satellite to other people using iPhones. You can call and text. There's a huge update from the most recent search and rescue update they had, where you could call an Apple technician or text with an Apple technician if you were out of cell range using satellite.
So it's sort of getting rid of that middleman, like the middle person calling Apple.
Yeah, so you could contact someone else on the trail, even if you don't have cell reception. And this is a pretty big deal, you know, Garmin InReach.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I just bought a new InReach for my next trip. Did I just waste $300?
I don't think so. You know, we have our hiking columnist, Grayson Haver-Curran. He's writing all about this. He was lost on the Continental Divide Trail back in October and used Apple's functionality to call for search and rescue. And he's saying, yeah, you know, I could have texted with my partner who was also on the trail. We could have met up with each other a lot easier and quicker. The thing with Garmin InReach is that, you know, that's what it's designed for. So it's more durable. It's probably going to have longer battery life.
Yeah.
I think that for through hikers and hardcore outdoor users, I think that product is still probably going to be preferred. But I do wonder for more casual hikers, people like myself who are worried about maybe, you know, getting over our skis in the outdoors.
Or maybe like 3 years from now, a couple more updates from now, maybe it really will take place.
So it's going to be an interesting technological innovation to see, but it's coming. Yeah. And it definitely, I think it represents a positive breakthrough for people getting out in the outdoors, because every week we read about people who need search and rescue or get lost out there. And if you could just text the other person on the trail or with Apple, you might save yourself some valuable time. Third story I have for you. This is an interesting one. The Environmental Defense Fund is going to spend millions of dollars to study a technology that sounds like something out of science fiction. basically would be like reflecting the sun's rays off of the Earth back into space to try and combat climate change. Solar radiation modification, or solar geoengineering, as they're calling it. And this has sparked an interesting debate. Some people saying, hey, why are we looking for a quick fix to climate change? We should be investing in the more fundamental changes like, renewable energy, moving away from fossil fuels, moving away from, big industry and polluting industries to stuff that's a bit greener. Other scientists say, that's great. It's not happening fast enough, and we need to start thinking big.
So it's too late. And now we're like, let's just throw any idea against the wall.
Yeah, and we've reported on this with Outside as it pertained to Great Salt Lake. A year ago, the Great Salt Lake was very low, and people were hypothesizing, hey, maybe we need to dig a pipeline from the Gulf of Mexico to pump salt water in there. And there were all these people saying, this science fiction idea is crazy and stupid, and what the heck are we even doing? But then other people say, hey, this is where we are with climate change. We need to start thinking big, and we need to start thinking outside the box with some of these these ideas that seem ripped from a James Bond movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like I've seen this James Bond plot before, and the evil guy did not get to deploy the mirrors because James Bond saved the day. Also, there's so many other implications of this. That's less vitamin D. We still need sun. I need my tan. I can't let the mirrors take it all away from us.
That's true. But I don't know. We're gonna have to definitely gonna have to continue to see what the science drums up about this. But it could be one of these big outside the box programs that people roll out at some point to make life a little bit better on the planet.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here with us, Fred. Stay tuned for more of The Outside Show. Up next, polar adventurer Erik Larson has a hot take about a very cold place. Welcome back to The Outside Show. We love nature here, but more than nature, we actually love hot takes. Mm-hmm. So we have our resident Mr. Hot Takes / polar adventurer, Erik Larson here. What's up, Erik? How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing great. I've been up here in the mountains, staying cool, thinking about adventure in all kinds of shapes and sizes. And my hot take from a cold guy this week is on Mount Everest. The Mount Everest season just wrapped up, and there was an incredible bunch of adventures and climbs that went on. 700 people summited Mount Everest. And my hot take this week is about, let's stop making Mount Everest the Everest of the outdoor industry. I think for a long time now, we've been talking about Everest as the pinnacle, the hardest thing. But the reality is it's been a long time since it's been the most difficult adventure on the face of the planet. I mean, 12,000 people have summited Mount Everest, and a lot of those are on the backs of the Sherpas. I mean, we have to look a little historical context. Mount Everest was climbed in more of the siege mentality, but that's carried on to today, and we're still in this kind of Victorian colonial idea of climbing Mount Everest where there's 2 or 3 people helping each climber up. There's a lot of money involved in this, and so it's kind of a race to more comfort. And not that people shouldn't be comfortable while they're doing adventures and adventure in whatever way, shape, or form, but it's become more adventure tourism than real adventure or exploration. And even just base camp, there's 1,000 people on average in base camp, and people are having, showers. Not that a shower is the extreme level of comfort. For me, it is, but it's just, food is getting helicoptered in every day. People are getting served on silver platters with the dome coming off of it. And in reality, even when you're climbing Mount Everest, you're only on the mountain for 12 or 13 days. And so it's not this epic feat of exploration. It's a great adventure that anybody should participate in. And I don't want to be the gatekeeper of it. But we're not climbing, or people aren't climbing it in the same kind of idea of exploration and this huge physical feat like it has been in the past.
It's starting to sound sort of like a vacation destination. Like people are going there to like have a nice week or weekend.
Aunt Linda is off for her crazy adventure, and this year it's Everest.
Yeah.
Well, I think Everest was a challenge. You know, initially it was just to be able to get to the top, and then it was kind of this physical measurement of how tough you could be, and now it's how comfortable can you be while kind of trying to get up to the top as well and check it off. And I think what I've read is one of the most difficult parts of Everest now is not necessarily climbing it, but not posting to social media about your climb. Like many adventures now. And realistically, it's a little more like maybe going on an African safari and, having all your meals cooked for you and your tent set up for you and seeing a cool elephant. And again, not that people shouldn't endeavor to do it, but I think as an industry we have to stop making this adventure be the pinnacle of everything difficult in the world. I mean, I was doing some research. There's only 700 people in the world that have run 100 marathons. To me, that seems crazy. You know how many people have gone into space? Around 700 people. Who are those people? We only know a couple of them, yet we keep talking about Everest every year.
Yeah. I feel like I felt it reaches max when I keep seeing Everest season close with all the LinkedIn posts about what they learned for their corporate environment from being on Everest. So what are the other alternatives? Like what's the next Everest in our world?
Well, I think, the Everest can be whatever you make of it. And I think, just by the nature of us as people, we want to feel part of a group. We want to feel part of an elite amount of people, like we're better than the next. But ultimately, there's hundreds and thousands of peaks that haven't been climbed in the world, and many and most more difficult than climbing Mount Everest. And there's all sorts of original adventures out there. We just don't talk about them in the same way. And if you look at from a difficulty and challenging perspective, I mean, you could do even just a hike across the US in a route that nobody's done, and it would probably be more complicated and difficult and more logistics that would go into it than climbing Mount Everest. There's tons of peaks in the Himalayas that haven't been climbed. Pakistan, like the list goes on terms of what difficult adventures could be had out there.
All right, let's go find one. And I guess I'll get my base camp pedicure in town instead. Yeah. Thanks for joining us, Eric. We'll see you back next time, and we'll be back with more from The Outside Show. Next, we're taking a trip around the socialverse. Stay tuned for the sickest outdoor videos of the week. Welcome back to The Outside Show, where we pledge to spend endless hours doom scrolling our social media so you don't have to. That's right, folks. We're back with the latest and greatest from around the TikTok, Facebooks, Instagrams of the outdoor world in social media.
Let's see what The Outside found. Let's see what we found.
First up.
Okay, Mo, what is happening here? She's swinging. What is this?
So this is a rock climbing cross rodeo. So the first trick she was doing is actually called a rodeo clip. Okay. So that's getting the rope up above her so that if you fall before you clip in that first one, you would normally just hit the ground because it's above you.
So do people usually climb up and then do that, but she didn't want to climb up?
A little bit of both. So like most people would use a stick clip, which is a stick for that. Yeah. But she has the skill to just swing the rope around and hit it. I actually bet my buddy $100 last week that he couldn't do it, and he didn't. But I never got my $100, so I need to follow up on that. Yeah. And then of course this trick where she throws the figure eight. I'm more impressed by the rodeo clip.
What knot is that?
That is a figure eight.
That is a figure eight knot. That's what you just said. Do you use
figure eights in fly fishing?
No, I was watching this video being like, knots are the bane of my existence. So that was like stressing me out that she would not make a good angler.
This is why when I go to go fly fishing, I like to hire a guy, because when I do get a lot of knots, I just turn to you and say, undo it, sir. Yep,
and we just go, all right, how's your day going? Everything's so good with you. But that was super cool.
That was pretty impressive. Yes. 10 out of 10 would climb with her because she would get that rope up there really cool and with style.
I don't know, but it was a sick rodeo thing.
You have no idea what happened there.
Send
still.
you the 4-H. I love it. All right, let's see what our next video is. I think this one's gonna be a little.
What sandy. In the sandworms?
Oh, was that a Dune reference?
It was a Dune reference.
Oh, I haven't seen Dune 2.
I wonder if the sound was on. If it would be as epic.
Like,
yeah, as epic.
Where is this, Mo?
Definitely not Great Sand Dunes National Park, which is just south of us. I was with a friend who tried skiing there, and he went nowhere. The sand was super sticky. Maybe the condies weren't right, but this dude is cruising. It looks more Middle East to me.
Yeah, and it does look like the sand looks like soft. I don't know if sand can be soft, but it looks like it's definitely
maybe
like
that's the ticket. Maybe over there it's just finer, whereas like the sand at Sand Dunes, have you been? It's more like sandboxy.
Yeah, it's like more, I don't know, more sandy.
And we went in the spring and it had some snow moisture in it still. So he would go like 6 inches and then kind of face plant and fall over. Not cruising like this guy. This guy is making climate change look fun. Like,
yeah, this is going to be our future with climate change. We're going to be like, no, forget Aspen. Let's just go to Dubai.
And you know what?
For the winter.
Mo's hot stock tip: invest in sand companies now before Vail buys them out.
Yeah, or invest in snow or ski sports, sand sports,
sand sports,
sand ice luge. Okay, that was my reference to sand. I really liked it. Okay, let's see what our next video is about. Okay, so this is an actual mountain.
Stuck?
This is snow.
This
is not sand.
Oh. No, that was intentional.
Sandy!
Okay. What is this?
It looked like
the guy Red was doing.
I mean, it looked like his friend was trying to stop him. Like, don't do it.
Okay, I think he stops the landing. I know we can't quite see it.
I don't think he does. I like to think he did.
Can you imagine being the person in the gondola being like, whoa, this is moving around kind of weird. Like, oh my God, and there's a dude.
Just like slowly poking his fingers out. Now, I think you said that this was in Italy?
Yeah, according to our notes, this is filmed in Italy, which actually makes a lot more sense. It's less litigious. Maybe he won't lose his pass over this. And if you hurt himself, universal healthcare. So
it is universal. And I didn't think he landed it. I just keep watching.
I want to give him credit.
I don't think he landed it because he just sort of disappeared. I believe in it.
A brand new way to ride a gondola. Maybe we'll start seeing gondolas add grips to the bottom, little rungs.
Please don't do this.
Viewers at home, don't do this. Don't do this, but if you do, post it on social media.
But don't tag yourself so you don't get in trouble. We don't want this guy to get in trouble. Okay, we have one more video. It's sort of climbing related, Mo. I think you can explain this to me because I am very confused about our next.
You know what? Same.
Okay, now all I know about this is those are definitely bouldering mats.
Yeah, those are bouldering pads. And so those you carry out into the woods, you put them under the boulder you want to try so that when you fall, you just land on a hard pad rather than hard rocks. They're not that comfortable. This is probably not a sanctioned certified use of bouldering pads. This reminds me, have you seen that TV show or the races in England where they throw a cheese wheel down a steep hill?
The cheese wheel run.
The cheese races.
That looks so much fun.
Yeah, this looks awful. I see broken clavicles. I see a head injury. I don't think the pads are actually helping protect him that much. Turns out this dude is actually a really good climber. He's working on some 515, climbs V hard. Okay. I can't imagine someone who is that good of a climber, which takes a lot of training, dedication, just yeeting himself downhill.
So what would you think would be the fastest way down the hill? That guy on the gondola? Or that guy rolling down on the boulder?
Ooh, I mean, I don't think this guy's going to stick anything except a trip to the hospital for a broken arm. Man, I hope we can hear from him to see what kind of like bush rash he got. It just looks...
Or just a follow-up video to make sure he's okay.
Yeah, I want that video at the end where he like very dizzily stands up and gives a thumbs up and we know that he's good. So, friend, if you're out there, let us know, please.
If you're okay.
If you're okay.
And we have more around the socials.
We do.
Right back after this. Welcome back to The Outside Show. Now, when we're not outside, we're actually on our phones, scouring the internet, looking for super cool videos to show with you all.
That's exactly what I spend all my time on the internet doing. Yes.
Is just scouring for cool videos.
Just for cool outdoor videos.
And so actually for this, we have a bunch of videos that we're going to watch. But for this first video, it actually gives me a bit of a heart murmur because it terrifies me. So check out this first video by this extreme mountain biker.
Okay, do you think he lets his mom watch his videos?
Absolutely not. He probably blocks her on Instagram and Twitter and everything else just because look how epic this looks.
He's moving pretty fast. Gosh, this looks like Spain or something beautiful with those limestone cliffs, but look at that drop off. And also, it looks like there's not that much. He just popped a wheelie.
I know. How sick
he
is
just
that?
popped a wheelie.
In the back of my mind, I go, does he have a parachute just in case? Like, just as like a double backup.
Hopefully a double thick helmet, because like, yeah, right here, there's not a ton of headroom here.
There's not a ton of headroom. And one of my favorite things on this video, there was actually a comment that got 21,000 likes that said, okay, so a biker can stay on this path, but can't stay in the 3-foot bike lane.
Bro got ratioed.
And I love that little bit of just like, come on, man, this is super sick, but you guys can do better.
So this is bicyclist Killian Bourne.
Yes.
Killian Braun. Check out his account. He's legit, because Outside follows him back. And we have another one of his videos, and he does it all. So he doesn't just do sort of cross-country mountain biking, but here he is doing more urban, I don't know, would you call this stunt biking? I would call it teeth chattering. I want to see his dental alignment after this.
Damn. Here we go. Okay, and then...
Tippity,
boop,
hop,
boop.
hip, hop.
And yeah, like you said, he's doing everything from like the mountainsides to like, this is like pretty urban.
So I find these turns kind of curious because it's like, why doesn't he just like put his foot down and just...
Well, I think if you put your feet down, you have to like restart like the level. Like it's like a Mario game. Like once you put your feet down, you have to go back to the
dab.
top.
So he's trying to get the pure sand of this.
The purest version of it.
Wild dam in Switzerland.
I mean, look how legit this is, though.
It's pretty cool. Sick. It's pretty cool. See, footage like this always makes me jealous of sports that look cool from a POV cam. No one wants to see rock climbing POV. It makes you want to puke. It's 3 inches away from the rock. You can't see anything.
Or fishing. People go, this is making me sleepy, which is rightfully so.
Yeah.
That's pretty easy.
Yeah, fly fishing's kind of boring to watch unless it's Brad Pitt.
River run. Okay, we have one more social video that we're gonna check out. Okay. This one's actually very cute, very lovely. And I think you're really gonna like it. Check this one out.
Oh, the little faces! Oh, they're so cute. Okay, sorry. I'm using my squealy puppy baby voice.
For jellyfish in the ocean.
I'm a mature, grown adult. Very cute though. They look like little confetti of the sea. I would worry that I would accidentally breathe them in or something because they're so small.
Oh, through your snorkel? Yeah. Like just suck one in? I don't know. They look really cute. I don't know if they sting or not. I don't know what sort of jellies they are.
I mean,
but
this diver looks pretty comfortable.
I know, like how beautiful is like this nature moment. So we have a lot of epic videos that are like, send it. But this one's sort of just like a chill, be amongst the wildlife.
So doing around the socials is one of my favorite segments here on the show. But I am curious about the tone and tenor our audience would like us to take. So viewers, shoot us a note at tos@outsideinc.com because I want to know if you guys prefer the adrenaline rush stuff that we find, or if you're like, screw that, we want more baby animals, we want more cute poopable jellyfish.
Yes.
I vote cute personally.
I don't know, I kind of like the send it videos.
Oh, let's see. What about a cute jellyfish going full send?
On the mountain bike?
Yeah.
On the mountain bike on the side of the mountain. I think that would be great. I think that would be perfect. So.
We'll be back. I think that's it, right?
That's it for Around the Socials. We'll be back with more from The Outside Show.
Coming up, a backpacking pro is talking all things acclimatization. Welcome back to The Outside Show. If you've planned a trip at altitude, say you're coming from sea level to visit us out here at Colorado, you've had to think about acclimatization, and you've probably heard the old adage, climb high, sleep low. Turns out there's a lot more behind that, and here to tell us all about it is Mary Beth Skyless, a contributing writer to Backpacker Magazine, and today, our expert in all things acclimatization, which is a really hard word to say, and I just said it twice, and I think I'll stop saying it for the rest of this show. Thanks for joining us, Mary Beth.
Hi.
So, Mary Beth, what does climb high, sleep low mean?
Yeah, the concept idea is basically to slowly expose yourself to higher altitudes before allowing yourself to recover at a less taxing elevation.
So what happens if I don't get to do that? Say we stress our body, I go straight from sea level to the summit of Quandary.
Well, there are a lot of factors that go into determining how you respond. Everybody responds to elevation differently. Some people are really sensitive to it. Other people might not be as sensitive. But I'd say one of the risks that you run is encountering high altitude sickness, essentially.
And what exactly is a high altitude sickness?
Yeah, so it's a medical condition when you might experience, like, some of the symptoms are like fatigue or dizziness or disorientation. so because your body is like functioning at a lower oxygen environment, it gets confused.
It doesn't know how to behave. I mean, that's like the daily life for my body, I guess. So what advice is missing from Climb High, Sleep Low? I love that. It's simple. I get it. But there's more to it. What advice can you give to expand on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say that there's kind of a gray area in there where, you know, everybody's response to elevation and acclimatization is different. And so knowing yourself and maybe experimenting at lower elevations is really important. And some of the variables that go into that process are like how well rested you are, whether or not you've been drinking alcohol, and what kind of physical fitness level you have, as well as your baseline elevation, so like where you live.
So how do you calculate your time needed to acclimate to the elevation and the activity that you're doing?
Yeah, that's a great question. There are a few different guidelines out there. Different guiding companies will tell you a certain thing. The CDC says that from sea level, it takes about 3 weeks to fully acclimate to 6,000 feet of elevation. And then climbing higher than that takes longer. So it could take almost 2 months for some of the higher elevations to fully acclimate.
That's a long time. So we don't all have that time to acclimate, right? Are there any at-home tips that we could be using to get ready for these trips?
Yeah, for sure. I think that one of the things that people use are hypoxic tents or masks. What those do is basically simulate the elevation environment, or, you know, like a low oxygen environment that you're expecting to be in. There's a lot of research that shows that sleeping like in a tent like that helps to reduce the symptoms of like high altitude sickness. And it allows your body to adjust beforehand.
And so with the mask, you just mentioned the mask, is it like the COVID mask we were wearing, or is it like those super like hyper performance masks that you wear to sort of help with this?
You know, I've never used one personally, so I'm not exactly sure how they look, but I know that they cover your nose and your mouth, so it's a pretty decent sized mask. And then I don't know, I imagine it kind of like a CPAP mask.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Super sexy. Yeah.
Right.
So I was reading your notes, and you mentioned something about entire gyms, altitude fitness gyms. That's news to me. What are those about?
Yeah, the same kind of deal. I haven't personally used one, but I know that they're popping up all around. When I was doing research for my article, I interviewed Matt Formato, who's a lifelong athlete and the founder and owner of Mile High Training. And one of the things that he was saying is that he started getting into high altitude training when he was a basketball athlete. Back in the day, he started hearing about some of his competitors using like a mildly hypoxic state for training purposes. And the idea was that then when they're in a normal environment, they have a slight advantage. You know, their respiratory rate is a little bit different, and their aerobic, fitness might be a little bit different too. So I would imagine that the gym trend is something similar, where it's supposed to enhance performance.
It's the new CrossFit.
It's the new CrossFit. So really quickly, what are just some health tips and some ways that people can acclimatize themselves to a high elevation if they're here just for a couple of days or for a week?
Yeah, I think a common approach, you know, if you're coming to somewhere like Colorado where the elevations can be, you have everything from like 5,000 feet to like 14,000 feet, right? So the best thing would really be to spend a fair amount of time at elevation. Some of the local hospitals say like start out by spending a few days in Denver and then go higher in elevation to like Dillon and then go to Aspen. So you're slowly climbing in the places that, you know, like you're slowly going up in elevation. I would say other things that could help are just like getting super aerobically fit and making sure that you're hydrating and taking care of yourself, because those things can all contribute to like kind of a worse state when you're on the mountain.
So water, not whiskey. That's a bummer.
Right.
But probably worth it to have a better trip in the end. Mary Beth, thank you so much for joining us, and come back soon, please.
Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity.
And we'll be back with more from The Outside Show.
Microplastics in testicles? I'm not kidding. Don't go away. Welcome back to The Outside Show. Now, research shows that microplastics are everywhere, not only in our oceans, but even in some of our organs and our body parts. Today we have the Outside's head of sustainability, Kristen Hofstetter, joins us to talk about the research that's in this space and some of the things she's finding. So Kristen, what's the research that you've been finding and what does it mean?
Oh gosh, it's crazy, right? My most recent article was hinged on a study that came out recently that really surprised me. We've known for a long time that microplastics have been found in the human brain, in our lungs, in our hearts, and so many of our other organs. But this most recent test found it in every human testicle that was tested. And that is something that's really causing scientists to be concerned about the impacts on the human reproductive system and in lowered sperm counts, which have been documented over the last decade or so.
I think it says something how headline grabbing this is, that microplastics in the brain, we'll deal with it. But testicles, now we have to really dig in and figure out what's going on here. So you said that this could be tied to reproductive issues. Are microplastics found anywhere else in the human body that has been tied to other sort of health issues?
Well, microplastics have been found everywhere in our bodies that's been tested. So there's that. But one of the things that I learned in talking to the scientist that I interviewed for the story is that we have all these correlations between the two factors, between microplastics and human health. What we don't have is what scientists call causal link. Mm-hmm. And so the link is what scientifically proves that one thing causes another. And so that is something that I think we're going to start to see science digging into now that we have all these correlations.
So right now we're still in that gut feeling of, well, this can't be good.
Yeah, but we don't know exactly how or why it's being caused. Kristen, what can we do about it? So not all plastics are bad, correct? There's actually maybe good plastics?
Well, there's definitely, the technology exists. And so the doctor that I spoke to from Yale, his name is Paul Anastas, and he is called the father of green chemistry. That's what he's kind of known as. He's written books about this for decades. And he believes that the solution is what's called bioplastics. Bioplastics, he says, have no performance differences than fossil fuel plastics. He says that it's a myth that these don't perform as well as fossil fuel plastics. They do. And these bioplastics are created not through fossil fuels, but through agricultural waste. So the waste that's generated in the corn industry, the soybean industry, the wood pulp industry. And he believes that if we started capturing all of this waste that's already being created and turning it into bioplastics, we're not only solving a waste problem, but we're creating plastics that aren't rooted in chemicals, nasty, harmful, toxic chemicals. And that's the solution.
I love that it's taking the waste and turning it into something useful, as well as helping us get rid of the bad plastics. Where are we at with bioplastics? Is the technology there, or are we still waiting for it to happen?
Well, according to Paul Anastas, the technology is absolutely there. And frankly, he's quite outraged when you talk to him and frustrated at the fact that the technology exists, but that the industry doesn't have the power behind it to actually make this more mainstream and get this new technology adopted more widely. And he believes that that's because fossil fuel industries, as we know, has so much power. They have lobbying power in Washington. They have so much money behind them, and they're putting so much money behind them. They're telling us to recycle. They're patting us on the head and saying, just recycle more, just recycle more. And that really, frankly, frustrates these chemists who are working on these solutions and have them, and they just haven't had the support and the financing to really amp them up.
Okay, Kristen, I've got more questions for you, especially about these new bioplastics, right after we get back from this break. Welcome back to The Outside Show, where we are joined by Kristen Hofstetter talking about microplastics and kind of how awful they are and how they're everywhere. But before the break, we ended on kind of a hopeful note that there is the technology to make bioplastics. It's just not out in the world or in the market yet. Kristen, I want bioplastics. I don't want plastic anymore. What can I do as a consumer to get the good plastics out into the world?
I want bioplastics too. Well, the first thing we can do is vote with our dollar, right? Use our wallets to make companies hear that this is an important issue that we want resolved. And so, don't buy single-use plastic. Don't buy lettuce in plastic. Don't buy don't buy anything, carrots in plastic bags. Avoid plastic. And by doing that, you're telling the manufacturers and the grocers that you want to see something different. But the other thing that I always try to get people to do, and I feel like we don't, and even I don't do enough of this, is we have to engage with our elected officials, right? That's what they're there for. They want to hear from us. Write them, call them, tell them this is important to you. Tell them that we have to do better, that you want to see some real laws passed against single-use plastic, fossil fuel plastics. Call the EPA. Tell them that we need more studies. We need more causal link studies funded. Engage with nonprofits who do so much work and advocacy around rallying, voices and creating public outcry around this issues. Two of my favorite in the plastic space are called Plastics Pollution Coalition and Beyond Plastics. And they always have petitions that you can sign and form letters that you can send off so that to make it easy, right? Easy to just like make your voice heard. And so I think those are the things that that give me hope that we can solve this problem, and that we have a responsibility to, right, for our kids and our grandkids and their kids.
We actually kind of saw this with plastic bags, especially for me here in Colorado. You saw this with plastic bags of companies being like, hey, we're going to charge for plastic bags. It's going to be extra. And then all of a sudden, a lot of stores don't have plastic bags when you check out anymore. So I guess sadly, Kristen, it is still like a financial component that really pushes people to act, right?
Yeah, that's very true, I think. But also, we have an example in the not so recent past where there was a lot of public outcry around health and beauty products which contained petroleum. As little as 10 years ago, almost every health and beauty product, whether it was a moisturizer or shampoo or makeup or anything like that, contained petroleum-based products. And there was a lot of public outcry. And now that is largely gone. Almost all of the health and beauty companies have switched to biomaterials, and that's something that the consumer spoke up against and actually saw an industry shift because of it.
One thing I like about this topic is that it's a little hopeful that maybe our grandkids won't have bodies full of microplastics. This is kind of a short-term thing we could see be a part of the solution on versus some longer-term things we talked about that are kind of overwhelmingly oppressive. What can we do to make sure that we see that future where our maybe great-grandkids won't have plastics, but we have them now, right? We're stuck with them, they're in us. Or is there a magic pill that we can take to purge the plastics from our systems? Or is there like a laser treatment I can pay for to get the microplastics melted out of me?
Now, Mo, I asked that very question of the chemist that I interviewed for this article, hoping that maybe there was something on the horizon. And he was really, really frank with me, and he said no. And I do not see anything in the future that could possibly, extract microplastics from our organs once they migrate into our organs. So the answer is no. We have to think about the future generations. We have to make this large-scale change at the source, and protect our kids and our grandkids. And it is something that we can do, and that's what I think about when I start to get nervous about this and kind of get frustrated by it. Is that there is a solution, and we just have to grab it, and we have to push for it and fight for it.
Okay, but in the meantime, if you can add for some kind of turmeric microplastic detox, don't click buy. It's not real. Some
like magic pill that causes all the problems. And just lastly, before we get out of here, we actually read one study that said you inhale about a credit card's worth of microplastics a week. And that's just like working out. And when you work out, you breathe in more air. But obviously, guys, you inhale less microplastics when you're outside, when you're walking your dog, when you're enjoying nature. So make sure you get outside. That way you're safer, you're protecting your bodies, even your testicles.
Yeah, and while you're outside enjoying some cleaner, less plasticky air, write your congressman. Ask for bioplastics, ask for the good stuff. Kristen, thank you so much for joining us once again. We'll have you back soon, right?
All right, thank you so much, anytime.
And we'll be back with more from The Outside Show.
After the break, we're going to New Zealand and Quebec with the Ironman race circuit. Welcome back to The Outside Show. We recently watched the Ironman Cairns, and it was an action-packed race, a lot of drama, and actually we have someone here special to talk about it. Thank you so much for joining us in studio, Sid. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me here. It's good
now, you are a lot of things. You're a triathlete, and you are best auntie. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
That was in your bio. We pulled it.
Yes. Yeah, I was going to say, I don't have the references on that for the nieces
auntie.
and nephews, but I'll take it. I'm British by background, professional triathlete, but I guess played sport as a kid, but then grew up, went to university, had a gap year in the army, studied the corporate world, and then got a transfer out to Australia. And everyone in Australia does triathlon, so got sucked in there as complete beginner. But then decided that give the professional sport a go. So quit the corporate world and be full-time athlete. I do the longer course, so the half and full Ironman. And then been lucky enough to live all over the world. So Australia, New Zealand, Spain, San Francisco, and now, about just over a year here in beautiful Boulder.
Right here in Boulder. So, Cairns, going into the race, we heard a lot about how beautiful it is, how incredible it is. How was the actual racing?
Yeah, so Cairns is typically, I think just because it's on the other side of the world in Australia, you don't get many internationals going there. I think there's been one international winner on the women's side, a fellow Brit, so Jodie Swallow. But it tends to be this battle of the Australians and the New Zealanders. And so on the men's side, we had kind of, don't want to do him a disservice, but semi-surprise winner Matt Burton, who is Aussie. Just probably wouldn't have expected him to win against some of the other athletes on that start line. But great comeback story. He had a foot injury or a foot infection at the back end of last year and sort of nearly lost his foot. So it was awesome to see him come through and take that win ahead of New Zealander Braden Curry. So that was one for the Aussies.
It sounds like he missed like 10 weeks of training at the beginning of the year, which sounds like a huge chunk.
It is. It's huge, especially because that's like when you're doing all your base training. So, I mean, he has been in the sport a long time, so he's probably got years in his legs, but still it's kind of to miss that much and then come back and have a performance like that. But I guess you're just running on being grateful and happy you're back on the start line. Pure joy.
All 10 toes.
And he also broke the world record for this Ironman.
Yeah.
But he also beat Braden Curry, who broke his old world record, but Braden Curry still came in second and lost to Matt. Like, what does that even do? Are these athletes getting faster and better, or is it just conditions?
Yeah, so the course record for, I think athletes in the sport is getting faster as athletes are moving up from the short distance, the Olympic, it's bringing more speed into it. And I think just, we've had a few athletes come into the sport that are really raising the bar, and that just, everyone else then steps up their game. And I think, conditions were really good on the weekend. So I think that always brings in fast times.
I feel for Braden though. He breaks his own course record, but it's not enough this year. We can't let the boys have all the fun. How do the women do?
No, women, so it was one to the Kiwis on the women's side. So Hannah Berry won the women's. She's really stepping up this last couple of years and had some great performances and just is steady across the board, super strong, doesn't really have a weakness, but maybe not a standout either. She's just very consistent and kind of goes about her business. She was kind of in no man's land for most of the day. So there was three of the best swimmers in the sport off the front. So Lauren Brandon, Lottie Wilms and Beck Clark. And then Hannah was kind of in this no man's land, which is good in some ways. You stick to your own race, but it's kind of lonely when we talk about 8 or 9 hours. But she passed them on the run and then kind of never
she must have blitzed that run.
Yeah.
And it must feel so good to pass people on your run going for the finish line.
It's good as long as you get that. If you pass someone too soon and you're at the front for too long, you start going, oh my gosh, am I going to blow up? Are they going to come back? So but it is a great feeling. Yeah.
That's so great. So, and also Dr. Berry. So shout out to PhD Dr. Berry, because that's awesome that she's present. Now let's look forward to Mount Tremblant, the race preview that's coming up here soon.
Yeah, so Tremblant, it's a 70.3 coming up this weekend in Canada. It's a super pretty course. It's kind of a resort, winter resort, summer resort. It's a bit like a Disney movie, sort of colourful houses, there's a cable car in the middle, but in the mountains, and it's great for outdoor activity, so the lake and trails and stuff. And really exciting because we see the return of Lionel Sanders. He's a Canadian, very popular character in the sport. He's raced in Oceanside and then has been injured since. So it's great to have him back. And he always has some good battles with Jackson Laundry. And Trevor Foley is really in form at the moment. He won Boulder the other weekend. So some great on the men's side. And on the women's side, again, local favourite or Canadian favourite, Paula Findlay is in form. Ellie Salthouse won Boulder, she's racing as well. And then Jodie Stimpson's coming back from recovery, and Sarah True. So some great athletes racing.
2 athletes in Boulder, is that enough time to recover from Boulder?
Yeah.
Okay, they're going to be good? All right. They ate their Wheaties, rehydrated. So you've actually raced the Tremont Blanc course before. What was your favorite part and why was it the cheese?
Yeah, I have done the full and the half. I really like the bike course. It's like rolling terrain. It's right up my alley. And then at the end, there's some like steeper pitches. And the run course by the lake is really pretty as well. But yeah, the poutine afterwards
is the best recovery meal. And we can watch it this weekend on Outside Watch. Super stoked.
Well, thank you so much for being here. So this is actually the end of our show. So thank you for hanging out with us. And thank you all for tuning in to the Outside Show. We'll see you next time.